Morin,
Here.
Turner,
Here.
Frick,
Here.
Fong, McCarty, Natoli, Cerna,
Here.
Sheedy,
Here.
ex officio McGarvey,
Here.
Chong for Yi,
Here.
Schmidt for Peters,
Here.
and Walter for McClatchy.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Karen. And if everyone would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and with that, this meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. This meeting is closed caption and will be repeated Saturday, June 4th at noon on Channel 14. A video copy will be available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the podium and hand it to the located in the back of the room, hand it to the clerk. And so with that, just one other housekeeping order. Our Commissioner Phil Cerna, he actually will potentially be playing some tag teams. So I just asked him to introduce his alternate at this point.
Sure. My Chief of Staff, Panerai Abdus, serves as my alternate on the commission. She'll be stepping in if necessary.
Very good. Thank you, Phil. And so, so with that, we'll go ahead and move to item 1. This is a closed session as described on our agenda, and just ask that we temporarily adjourn to closed session at this time. And just to give folks an idea of the time on this, we're not terribly sure, but you know, I don't know, 10, possibly 20 minutes, probably somewhere in that order. So.
I like 10 better.
We'll go ahead and reconvene the regular meeting here after coming out of closed session. Any final action to report out of closed session?
There's no reportable action.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to item number 2, and I'll just have the clerk call that item.
Item number 2 is resolution number 2011-001, delegating authority to county's risk manager and/or his alternate to act on behalf of the commission for matters relating to the California State Association of Counties Excess Insurance Authority.
Good afternoon. Bob Davison, your Executive Director. The CSAC Express Insurance Authority is the entity that provides insurance coverage and risk management services to 52 counties, but also to the Commission. The SMCTC, this Commission also participates in this authority, but county staff actually acts for this Commission in most matters related to the CSAC. They call it the EIA. The CSAC EIA has asked that the governing board for each member formalize its delegation of these responsibilities to the staff that they take care of most of the business with. And so that authority has asked us to adopt today's resolution to formalize the fact that the county staff acts in your regard. This would not count for items of significant risk to this commission. This is more for standard items that they take care of on a day-to-day basis. And with that, I recommend that you adopt today's resolution.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any questions of Bob? Okay, appears to be pretty ministerial there, so I'll go ahead and move item number 2.
Yep.
Second.
Okay. Did I hear somebody have to?
Go ahead, you can do it.
Okay. Okay, so so with that, we'll go ahead and all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, with that, item number 2 is so ordered. Moving on to item number 3.
Item number 3 is resolution number 2011-002, adopting the fiscal year 2011-12 proposed final general fund budget for the commission, as well as resolution number 2011-003, adopting the fiscal year 11-12 proposed final PIC fee fund budget.
Okay, good afternoon again. I'm pleased to present the fiscal year 2011-2012 budget. As you remember, most of you should remember from last year was the first year where we actually had 2 formal budgets. Since this commission has been in place, we've had the general fund budget. And in 2009, the 1% public education and government channel facilities fee was adopted. And so therefore, last year, we started the PEG fee fund budget. So today's presentation will cover both budgets. I'm going to basically cover the highlights of the budget and certainly can answer any questions or detailed issues that you might have. Certainly there's a lot of information in today's staff report. The general fund budget proposes $13 million in expenditures. This is to be funded by $11.7 million in estimated new franchise fees to be collected over the next fiscal year, and also the balance of carryover funds that are basically left over from the 2010-11 budget. Also, the PEG fee fund proposes to fund approximately $3.8 million in expenditures, and these are proposed to be funded with a 2.2 estimated new revenue of PEG fee revenues that would be estimated to be collected next year. Then also the carryover funds from the 10-11 budget. I want to point out that there's a big carryover in the PEG fee fund because there was $1 million appropriated for BestNet Phase 3, the first of 3 years. But that program was changed. SECC and Comcast approached your board not too long ago, and your board directed that rather than funding the $1 million from last year's budget, that $600,000 be allocated for 5 years starting this fiscal year. So for this fiscal year, you'll see the $600,000 for the BestNet Phase 3, but there's carryover funds because we didn't spend the $1 million last year. So with that, I want to point out that this budget, it carries out the duties of the commission as efficiently as possible. We prepared the budget trying to maximize the revenue distribution to the member agencies, especially given the current economy. Also, one of the major aims was utilizing the PEG fees to the benefit of the member agencies, the channel licensees, and Metro Cable, and also which translates to the public at large. Okay, with that, I'll be just going through various highlights in the budget. First of all, I want to talk about the revenue distribution. It's interesting, I actually wanted to see how growth was over the past several years, so I went back to the 05-06 budget, and that was the year before your commission started funding significant levels of BestNet. That year, the revenue distribution to member agencies was $5.5 million, and the intake of franchise fees was $7.8 million. Just in this budget, we're proposing a revenue distribution, and this is a fiscal year 11-12 revenue distribution, which would be paid out in June of next year, not next month. There's a revenue distribution that will be paid out next month, but I'll talk about it in a second. So we're proposing $10.5 million for the revenue distribution. So that's a significant increase, almost double the 05-06 budget. So I just thought that would be interesting to point that out. Of course, there's a lot of things that we've done to enhance the revenue distribution. Of course, franchise fees have increased over the years, and that helps. We've also been able to utilize the PEG fee fund and pay the commission back for some previous expenses, especially BestNet Phase 2 expenses, and there's some more of that. So I do want to point out in today's revenue distribution, it's well over $700,000 more than it would be, without doing some of these things to enhance the distribution. And I'm just going to point out a few of those things. The budget shows a transfer of $258,000 to pay for BestNet Phase 2 expenses. So that's shown in both budgets as a transfer from the PEG fee fund to the general fund to further reimburse for past BestNet Phase 2 expenses. Also, the BestNet Phase 2 project is actually coming in less than it was originally envisioned. Your commission originally approved $1.3 million a year for 3 years. 3.9 million roughly. That project is estimated to come in really $192,000 less than what we still have remaining in our budget for the remaining costs for the Phase 2 project. So there's a savings of $192,000 in the general fund from that. In addition, there's $98,000 that's being moved to the PEG fee fund, and that's estimated to be the remaining cost for BestNet Phase 2. On top of that, SECC has requested that $50,000 of their operations base be moved to the PEG fee fund to be a facilities and equipment base. and that provides further savings for the general fund. So all these items together have produced significant savings to the general fund and are leading to a higher revenue distribution than would normally be the case. On top of that, the fiscal year 10-11 distribution is proposed to be doled out in June. Because we've received about approximately $800,000 more in revenue than was in the budget, that revenue distribution will have an extra $800,000 in it. So I just want to make you aware of that. And today's resolution basically adjusts the budget to allow for that distribution. Should also point out that the distribution is based on population, and the numbers, we use the Department of Finance numbers, but they do take into account the 2010 census. So I know one of the member agencies asked if we've updated our population numbers based on the census, and we have. Most significantly, Elk Grove's population increased by 7% compared to last year. So there's various changes for various of the member agencies, but all of the member agencies will actually be getting a revenue distribution that's higher than what was in the budget last year, even with those population changes. Okay. With that, I want to move on. With the Pegasus Fund, we have a variety of requests, and the requests are outlined in the staff report. Also, there's detailed information that's on the dais, requests from member agencies, requests from Metro Cable, and also requests from the channel licensees for basically to use those Pegasus funds for certain facilities and equipment needs. So I'll just go through some of the highlights of some of those. And I do want to thank both the commission staff and Metro Cable for working with the member agencies and the channel licensees, because it's a new process, and it takes a lot of time, and you don't know exactly what the package is going to look like until you get close to this budget meeting. So there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of discussion, but commission staff did a really good job of working with member agencies, making sure that they knew about the revenue source. And so I don't think there'll be anybody out there that's saying that, hey, I didn't know about that money. I think everybody should know about it. With that, I'll point out some of the requests that we got. The County of Sacramento has requested an upgrade to these chambers that we're sitting in right now. Of course, these chambers house over 1/3 of the meetings that appear on Metro Cable. This upgrade would be a significant upgrade, which would include another row on the dais. You can see you're kind of crowded up there, and this request would install another row on the dais, as well as audio and video upgrades, lighting, and cameras, and basically various other related costs to an upgrade for these chambers. The City of Elk Grove has requested funds for an AV system upgrade and also video production equipment so that they can produce their own shows that would most likely run on either Metro Cable or Access or some of the other channels. The City of Sacramento has requested a new AMX audio control system. Galt has a request in for wall repairs related to the chamber's microphones and dais improvements. And basically, all agencies have proposed amounts for control room upgrade, and these are various requests for equipment, including monitors, switches, racks, various things that would basically to improve or replace worn out equipment in all the member agencies' control rooms. And I'm not going to go in detail, much more detail than that on each individual member agency request, but we both got actual requests from the member agencies, or we got requests through Metro Cable working with the member agencies, and the requests have come in both ways. So also, too, there's a request from Metro Cable for various projects that are related to Metro Cable 14. Also want to point out that as far as community programming, as you're aware, we have the channel licensees, and they program the PEG channels other than Channel 14. And we've also received various requests from them. For a while, your commission has been approving a base amount that would go from the general fund to these entities. And this year, the general fund base request is $805,000. That's actually down $50,000 from last year because SECC is requesting that $50,000 be transferred over to the Pegasus Fund. And also want to remind you that well over $200,000 of base was moved last year based on requests from SECC Access Sacramento and KVIE, and that base transfer is still in the PEG fee fund for this budget, so it's a continuing savings going forward every time the base is funded by the PEG fee fund and not the general fund. So with that, the budget now includes $329,000 in facility equipment base request, including the $50,000 of new base to be transferred from the general fund. Also, the budget includes one-time equipment requests from Access Sacramento, KVIE, Capital Public Radio, and SCCC. Also in the PEG fee fund is an allocation for BestNet that I mentioned before, the $600,000 for year 1 of 5 of BestNet Phase 3, and also the remaining funding for BestNet Phase 2, the $98,000 that had previously would have been funded in the general fund. So that basically is, with all those requests from the channel licensees, those requests base and one-time request amounts to about $1.65 million. With that, we'll move on to Metro Cable. Metro Cable continues to do a good job given the size of its staff, and they've really been of great assistance to the member agencies, especially in this time when a lot of these PEG fee requests are coming in, and the member agencies are really analyzing their control rooms and trying to figure out their needs, and so they've been a big help there. As I mentioned, the PEG fee fund has been a great source for providing equipment funding, but actually also it's led to a lot of increased workload for Metro staff. Even before the PEG fee was here, we saw the need for an additional staff person in Metro Cable. Basically, there's 3 full-time staff people that help run Metro Cable and get the shows on the air. We saw the need for a production assistant 3 position to be a full-time position. However, when the economy turned, we held off on that request. But as we continue to go forward, and staff is continually working with the member agencies and working on these PEG fee requests and working on commitment needs, I no longer can hold off on that request. So today's budget is requesting the funding of a PA3 position full-time. And with that, we would be defunding one of the part-time PA positions that we have been previously funding. So that request is being made as part of this budget. I also want to point out that last year Metro Cable covered more than 400 meetings for over 22 entities at 12 different locations. With that, I just have a few more highlights in the budget. Of course, your commission several years ago implemented closed captioning, and now well over 80% of the meetings on Metro Cable are closed captioned. In 2010, over 1,000 meetings were captioned. Not sure what that was, but
We need some upgrades in these chambers, I think.
we'll make sure we analyze that for next year's PEG fee fund request.
Family underway.
Anyway, well over 1,000 hours of meetings were captioned. We have a little more history on closed captioning, so we brought the budget down for closed captioning by $25,000 and provided a little bit of savings there. Those are the main highlights from the budget that I wanted to talk about. Again, we've submitted this budget in recognition of the economy with the goals of boosting the member agency revenue while allocating the PEG fee funds as best we can and efficiently performing the mission of the Cable Commission. I do want to thank Karen Liu for her hard work on the budget. She put in a lot of hours on this, and it's really appreciated. Katie also assisted Karen and helped out a lot. Metro Cable was really helpful, like I said, on the equipment request, and I think it's just hard to analyze all the equipment for all the member agencies, and they really helped out in doing that. And again, I want to thank the member agencies because, over the year, we met with the staff and both the IT staff and the city management staff of the county and all the cities, and really appreciate meeting with them and making sure that they understood the PEG fees were out there, and also just to reacquaint them with the Cable Commission and what we do. And with that, I recommend that you adopt today's budget. There's 2 actions. So today's actions will adopt both the general fund budget and the PEG fee fund budget. and I certainly can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I imagine there's a question or two. Thank you, Bob. And that was, I think, appropriately brief, but with some detail. So any other questions? We've got a lot of detail in our staff reports, but any questions or concerns that anyone has? I do have about a dozen requests to speak on this item, so I will call those up. But any questions before I call public up to comment? Okay, we're all looking good there. So what I'm going to do, since I've got a dozen here, I'm going to chop it down to 2 minutes just for the sake of expediency. So, tell us how great you think this budget is in 2 minutes or less. I don't know how to work this timer, but Don's going to give me a quick lesson here. So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll call a few names in advance here. So if you could line up and be ready to go. We'll start off with Carl Barton, Joanne Fuller, followed by Walt Yost. And good afternoon, Carl.
Good afternoon. I'm Chairman of the Board of Public Access, and I want to thank you, the members, for allowing me to speak here today, and I want to thank you for your past support. We've operated within the budget that you gave us last time as far as money is concerned. We've updated our equipment. We've gone out there in the community, and we reached out and started a new service out there called Local News Bureau Service. And also, I was joined here today with a number of my board members and also other members of the community. And if you'll stand, and maybe some of you will pass on their remarks, and maybe we can all speak a little bit longer.
Okay.
I will try to shorten my remarks.
Okay.
I do want to thank each and every one of you, though, for your past support and your continued support. I believe that all of you received a packet of what we're trying to accomplish. And I look forward to working with you in the future to get everything accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl. Okay, next was Joanne, followed by Walt, and then Kendra Montgomery.
Hello, I'm Joanne Fuller, and I'm also delighted to be here and speak in favor of Access Sacramento, celebrating our 25th year of incorporation this year. We continue to operate efficiently, and I'm just going to raise up a couple of issues in our budget. We do note that the Cable Commission grants to fund the operations, which we are grateful for, remain essentially unchanged since the 35% cut in 2003. We have been continuing the Hometown TV and Game of the Week programs, and note that the grant specifically for these programs that we've produced approximately 20% more programs than required by the special grants. So we're out there doing that work too. The new equipment capital grant funds that we received last year are really appreciated. These are funds that can only be used for equipment purchases, and we've been working on that. We've spent those funds wisely, and note that the equipment has been installed, that the training of staff and volunteers have been conducted without any increase in operational funding. New funding for equipment has kickstarted our neighborhood news bureaus, and we're very excited about the work that we're doing in South Sacramento with 5 community organizations there, and expect to expand into Rancho Cordova and in the north area of Sacramento as we receive more funds. So thank you very much for how you've supported us in the past, and look forward to a really great next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Okay, Walt, followed by Kendra, and then Ellen Arden-Ogle. Hi,
Mr.
Walt.
Chairman, and hello, Andy. My name is Walt Yost, and I guess I know several of you. I used to be a reporter with the Bee and covered many of your communities over the years. So I'm right now on the board of directors for Access Sacramento, enjoying the challenge. I just wanted to briefly address one of the more unique and I think most interesting projects that we started last year, and that's, as Joanne mentioned, the neighborhood news bureaus. We've started this in the South Sacramento area, which we feel like was an area where, unfortunately, print and TV journalism has kind of pulled back from. Sometimes the only stories you see from South Sacramento, unfortunately, are crime stories, when we know there's a lot of other very good stories going on there. So what we've done basically is found 5 partners in the area, including the Pinnell Center, La Familia, Asian Resources, and use them to help train young people, and in some cases not so young people, how to use resources like flip cameras, videos, to go ahead and report the stories going on in their own community, and which aren't being, unfortunately, covered the way they used to be. As many of you may know, when the Bee pulled back, closed its bureaus, got rid of neighbors, and television also has had to do the same thing. So a lot of good news, a lot of interesting news going on that isn't being reported in these communities, and Access is trying to address that. So we got started with the help of a $50,000 a year grant, which is for 2 years, from the California Endowment. We've also got funding from your own commission to help continue. But I do think, speaking as a former journalist, that there's very much a need there, and I see if you want to go to the website and see what they've done yourself, you can go check, and I've just forgotten it here. Help me, Ron. accesslocal.tv, and you can see what some of the videos are right now, and I anticipate as we work longer with the young people in those communities, we'll have even better to show you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Walt. Okay, next is Kinder. Hi, Kinder.
Good afternoon. I too am on the Access Sacramento board, but in my role I am a university partner. My day job, or all-the-time job, as the director of community relations and training for UC Davis and the Community School Partnership Office. And to that degree, we've been able to partner with Access Sacramento in producing the Youth Media Forum for Social Change, and also that was at the Bee as a mainstream local media partner, really inviting young people to think about ways that they're using social media to create community change in the South Sacramento area. This is the second forum that we've hosted. The first one was at Channel 3 last May, and we look forward to that continued partnership, continue to build the relationship between young people, their advocacy, their civic engagement, and their literacy through social media. So we've been able to partner through Access Local TV and a host of other community partners that are really supporting young people and their voices. So I thank you for your continued partnership and your level of supporting young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Okay, next is Dr. Ellen Arden-Ogle, followed by Dawn Detson, and then Margie Park. Hi, Doctor.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Los Rios Community College District and Cosumnes River College in particular, thank you for your continued support of Access Sacramento. The partnership between Cosumnes River College and Access Sacramento is a long one. I've been involved for at least 10 years. And it is not just an educational partnership. This is also a students get training and get jobs kind of partnership. And we are all about numbers at the colleges, but numbers are important, but they don't tell the whole story. And what we've come to find out is that the authentic lived experience of students doesn't generally come through numbers. So I asked our television and film production folks to give me a couple of examples. They gave me 14 recent examples. Chris Thomas now directs the morning news on Fox 40. He first directed TV on the Access truck after training at CRC. Emmanuel Chin and Daniel Akins are cameramen and editors at Fox 40. Adam Cavello-Kane and Michael Golly work at Channel 13. Barbara Clopton and Christina Wasulo have been picked up at Metro Cable 14. And in sports, we have Brandon Wells, Paul Dolly, Garrett Johnson, Megan Stanley, and Kevin Wynn, all working as video editors, camera operators, or control room staff for the Jumbotron at Power Balance Pavilion. Kevin Knight and Jenny Yerkson now work the Sacramento River Cats big screen. And those are just student examples. We also have a current instructor, Lauren Wagner, who was once a student and now stands out as an example to our students of what you can do when you go through all the way through the program and then on to USC's #1 film school. So this is a direct impact on students becoming fully functioning members of society and working in the number 20 media market. They couldn't get that without the Access experience. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, next is Dawn, followed by Margie Park, and then Bob Crimmins. Hi, Dawn.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. And I'd like to say that I am a graduate of Sacramento State University, and I majored in television production. But unfortunately, that was more than 25 years ago, Ron, and so I didn't have the opportunity to take advantage of what Access has to offer students today, and I wish I had. But I have worked in all the major newsrooms here in Sacramento. Currently, I'm a board member and past president of the Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, so I have some experience in film, and I wanted to share that a place called Sacramento really offers some great opportunities to independent filmmakers. Literally gives them the tools and the training that they need to produce film. And as you all know, film production and television production is one of the leading industries in California. And I think we're really talking about those 14 examples. That's just here locally. So the opportunities that Access gives independent filmmakers is more than you can imagine. I mean, you can just go in with a script, and if it's decent, you have the tools to actually produce something, and you get to see it on the big screen at the Crest Theater at a place called Sacramento. And that's really an amazing thing. So I just want to speak to that, excuse me, and say that I think that this could translate to better production locally. That means that we can employ more artists and technicians, and that it could also translate into individuals just learning more about the art and hopefully leading to better programming, not just in television, but also in film. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, next is Margie Parks? She stepped out. Okay. Followed by Margie is Bob Crimmins, and then Joe Carrillo.
Okay, here we go under 2 minutes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, honored board members. My name is Bob Crimmins. I'm here to speak on behalf of Access Sacramento. I started my own television program at Access Sacramento almost from the first day they opened. Some of my guests included Sacramento sheriffs, Sacramento police, Sacramento mayors, district attorneys, highway patrolmen, Sacramento drug agents, Sacramento self-defense experts, Sacramento prisons guard, nationally famous attorney Melvin Belli, America's fitness icon Jack LaLanne, Dr. Linus Pauling, the discoverer of vitamin C, Dr. Deepak Chopra, plus hundreds of others, even Santa Claus. With the education I gained from Access Sacramento, I'm now a columnist with the Sacramento Senior Magazine. I write a monthly column encouraging the general public to help with volunteer work for injured vets at VA hospitals. I also write about general health issues with the knowledge I received from all of the nationally known health experts that appeared on my television program at Sacramento. Access Sacramento. And Access Sacramento gave me an opportunity to learn how to do this, so I am able to give back to my community, which in turn helps educate Sacramento citizens. There are many others out here in our community that can do the same thing with the help of Access Sacramento. Last year, you found it fitting to give me an award to honor all of the good works I did with the help of Access Sacramento. I could not have accomplished all the things I have mentioned if it wasn't for the excellent teamwork at Access Sacramento. Perhaps next year there will be another award winner speaking to you about all of the great things they were able to accomplish with the help of Access Sacramento. Thank you very much for your time.
Well done. Under a minute and a half, Bob. So that was good work.
Usually I can't say hi in less than 15, 20 minutes.
Congratulations again, and holy cow, you got an award, Bob. That's good. Good on you.
I gave you each a magazine.
I know, well-deserved award, though. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, guys.
Okay, we have, followed by Bob is Joe, and after Joe is Nathan Schemmel.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Carrillo. I'm senior pastor of New Destiny Center here in Sacramento. And I want to thank you for your support of public access and Access Sacramento. I'm one of the series program providers. It provides a platform for us to speak into the community. And very quickly, let me share that not having had a voice for most of my life, it's great to have one in which it can have a positive effect. I grew up in a housing project, number 8 of 10 children with a single mom, and my first friend died of an overdose in 5th grade, and never thinking I'd have the opportunity to voice my opinion, my feelings and beliefs on things as I am now on the platform that is given through Access Sacramento. Because of that, and the voice that is going out from many programs like ours that goes in the community, changes happen in our community. For example, Daniel and Juan, two people I know personally, who've seen the program on Access Sacramento, broke their affiliation with gangs, and changed their course of life. They never would have seen a program like that on the network TV that we see around us today. They publicize the fact that they're showing reality TV. Reality TV, I would call it more like fake reality. Reality TV is really expressed on stations such as Access Sacramento, where people who deal with everyday life are speaking to people who are dealing with everyday life. And they can identify with those that are on these programs because they are people out of their community, out of their culture, out of their neighborhoods, and have gone through the same fears, the same discouragements, the same everything that they have gone through. And because of that, they can identify with these people and they'll listen to what they have to say. And I'm a witness here today that public access has given us a platform that is changing lives, and for that we thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out today, Joe. So Nathan, followed by Candace Kelly.
How's it going? My name is Nathan Schemmel. I am the director of the Sacramento Film Music Festival going into our 12th year. I'm also a professor at Sacramento City College. I teach film, and I also am a freelance producer around town. I worked for the Kings for 5 years as a producer, moved on, and I do reality shows here in town. I wanted to kind of come and talk about a place called Sacramento, which is a special program with Access Sacramento. It's a great driver for the community in both film and video. It's been going on for about 12 years now, and what's really important about programs like that is that they plant seeds. They give people that are just starting out an opportunity to try things, experiment, be free, and also to meet people, because realistically, those little touches and community joints that are made throughout this process help build the entire community as a whole. And as a freelance producer in town, the people that I see, encounter, audio specialists, camera operators, all of them seem to say at some point they've touched one of these small films that have been produced through Access Sacramento. And so I wanted to kind of reaffirm that throughout the community and actual working professionals in town, these programs, like a place called Sacramento, really help drive people towards the industry and also help them get better, help them meet people, and help them in their career development. And then also I wanted to take a moment and talk about Livewire, which is one of the other programs that Access Sacramento puts on as a live TV show. It's helped us out as a film festival, gives us a voice, helps us promote our event. Our film festival shows films from around the world, but also showcases a lot of local talent. And Livewire has given us an opportunity to get on the air and show those, help promote that and push our agenda of local filmmaking and the film arts. So I wanted to thank you guys for your support of Access Sacramento and hopefully the continued support of that. So,
Great. Thanks for coming out today, Nathan. Okay, Candace, followed by Arn Samp. Good afternoon, Candace.
Hello, and thank you all for having us today. My name is Candace Kelly, and I am the director of the Girls Self-Esteem program. It's a mentoring program here in Sacramento. We have about 88 girls that are involved in our program. This past spring, our formal graduation and Self-Esteem Super Bowl was shown on Access Television. It was on Hometown TV in particular. And I must say that what we got in return from showing that on Hometown Television, it's just I can't even say how valuable it was to us. Young ladies in our program, like young Montana, who's sitting here in our audience, were presented on television. They each had the opportunity to get up and say their name and to show the things that they had learned, such as self-defense, self-esteem, and also building sisterhood. Now, I was a television news anchor and reporter throughout Texas for 15 years and for 3 years here in Sacramento. And we were shown here in Sacramento over the 5 years that we've been here on mainstream television that I used to work at, a total of 12 minutes in 5 years. Okay. We had 12 primetime hours on Access Sacramento Hometown Television, and I can tell you when we were shown on the local TV, even the #1 television station here, not one phone call came in of support for our program. When we were shown on Hometown Television, here were our results. We had one person who volunteered to make props. We had a plant on stage in previous years. Somebody's going to make a whole prop for us because they saw us on Access TV. Someone is going to donate dresses for the girls who do not have dresses. 2 performers, professional performers, performers. They want to attend to perform this year. We had 12 parents to sign their kids up for our program because they saw us on Access Television, Hometown Television TV. 2 girls saw the ballerinas that we bring in, because each year we bring in ballerinas from either Dance Theater of Harlem or Alvin Ailey, and they perform at our show. 2 little girls saw that, and they signed up to take dance lessons over at the Sacramento Ballet School. You know, this is a great opportunity for those of us who are not in the mainstream, nonprofits, people that are doing hard work. We may not have a lot of money, but we have heart, and this is an opportunity to showcase what we're doing and to show that what we do, it is recognized. And lastly, I will say, for those people who may be shut in and who may not be able to come and see the shows that local people are putting on, being able to see it on television is absolutely priceless. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Candace. So we have Arn, and then followed by Arn is Liz Rhodes.
Well, it's been 7 years since I was last here. If I come back in 2018, we can celebrate my 85th birthday.
All right. We're looking forward to that, Arnie.
I hope so. Well, I'm the producer of Toastmaster Outreach, and I do volunteer work out at the Mather Community Campus, and they kind of merge together. I have grassroots on my show. I tell the students out at the homeless, and I tell it on television, better communities build better communication builds better communities. If you want a job that pays, there are jobs out there that'll break your body down. But if you want one that makes money, it's talking and listening. And that's why we Toastmasters stress communication. As time goes by, communication solves everything. Well, I hope I can see you in 7 more years. That'll be 2018. Do I have a reservation?
Yes. And we'll give you more than 2 minutes then, too.
Might even sing happy birthday to you, Arnie.
Okay, next is Liz.
Good afternoon, I'm Liz Rhodes. Just real quickly, Sacramento is amazing, and I think, you know, this, just what you've heard is incredible, and so I will just say ditto to what you said, Mr. Moran. We're doing incredible things with the funding that you've given us. We appreciate it. Education is doing extremely well with the resources you've provided, and we're appreciative. So I will save show and tell until the very last agenda item, and we have something very special to share with you. So unless there's any questions, thank you all for everything you do for us.
Thanks, okay, Liz. Great. Thanks, Liz. Okay, that's the last speaker request we have on this item. So, so any other questions for Bob before we take up focus on the budget here? Okay, so just go.
Yeah, I did a quick question. On the allocations to the member jurisdictions, well, we had this conversation the last couple of years, and everybody is under different levels of budget duress. Relative to the estimates and the allocations, it's nice to get a year-end bonus, but is there, you're basically going back to a figure that was reflective of, I guess, a year ago with a little bump, but is there reason to believe that we wouldn't be coming in at the 10-11 level versus what you've contemplated for 11-12? And again, I know you've explained this in the years past about trying to keep some margin, but again, every dollar that I think comes to the local jurisdictions, after we've been able to to do the things we need to do relative to the commission, that return certainly helps with other community services, many of which tie into some of the things we heard this afternoon. So I guess I'm curious about whether there's any ability to, again, with certainly being conservative about it, but also recognizing kind of the trend over the last couple of years. And so.
Sure, and yeah, I understand what you're saying. Actually, the recommendation here is less conservative than, you know, if you looked at the recommendations from the, you know, past several years. You know, having said that, I believe the estimation is that there's 11.7 million in franchise fees coming in, and that's a little under the actual collections for this year. You know, hopefully the healthy trend will continue. You know, there's nationwide, that's not the trend everywhere. You know, there's some competition with cable video providers, with internet, Netflix, Hulu, and other things. So, you know, that trend is not repeated nationwide. We certainly have AT&T in town, and their business has been expanding. So, you know, I think that if we can look at the last several years, the hope is that those revenues can continue. Like I said, I'm being less conservative now than I have been in the past in recognition of trying to promote, you know, get as much money in the revenue distribution for the member agencies as I can. You know, that being said, you know, for me, it's dangerous to estimate too rosy of a scenario, because I don't want to be in the position of having to take the money back at the end if it didn't come in as as projected. So, all I can say is that I think the recommendation is reasonable. We have a lot of strategies in here that we've implemented to enhance the member agency revenue distribution, albeit the checks we're going to be sending out next month are enhanced by about $800,000 because of the healthy revenues we received last year. So,
and that's been communicated to the jurisdictions so they know for their budget planning purposes that that money will be forthcoming?
That will be communicated to the member jurisdictions after this meeting. It hasn't yet.
Okay.
Some have called and asked, and I've shared the information with those that have asked, but we will certainly communicate that information.
Okay. Well, again, it is certainly relevant for any number of the parties up here, but we start budget deliberations or hearings on Monday, and so if you already communicated it, then they've got that plugged in. If not, then and maybe Ted or others have followed this, or Howard or Ponderea, but I just, again, as we're going into that, I say every dime counts. Let me just ask you real quickly then on page 7 of 11, you've got the revenue distribution for 11-12 at 10.5. In the actual this year is 11, proposed for revenue distribution is going to be 11.2, and that reflects the $800,000, I guess, that you said that.
Correct.
Over and above. So would budgeting say that you could be at, you've gotten it to 10.5, obviously using any number of factors, would it be reasonable to expect you might be at 10.7?
I did take last year's meeting to heart when I came up with my projections, and I certainly did try to be less conservative. The projection could, that's based on 11.7 in cable revenues. I believe the number of actual revenue last year was just over 12 million. I estimated 300,000 over the actual received this year. I didn't think that was going
over actual. So you estimated?
No, under actual.
Oh, under actual. Okay.
Under actual. Okay. That being said, if they continue to grow, then that gap will still be there, and then based on this budget, if we do get extra revenue, just like next month, we'll be sending that extra money to the member agencies next June.
No, and I appreciate that. Again, this is not in any way questioning your budget. I think you've been, certainly, a good administrator in that respect. I ask it because each year as we go into it, we certainly have been able to address a number of the needs within the framework of the commission activities, certainly with our community partners, as well as obviously some of the physical needs of the member jurisdictions. And it's just, again, it's a super sensitive item when it comes to budgets on the other fronts that we have to deal with it. And this is a general fund revenue that helps everything from law enforcement to children's services to whatever it might be used for in particular jurisdictions. And so that's why I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if others have the question. I certainly accept your numbers. Again, it's always it's your best estimate. And if it comes in under, then obviously that is reflected then, I guess, in a different allocation at the end of, or even at the beginning of the next fiscal year if you fell too far short. So that's the risk you run. On the other hand, these are extraordinarily difficult years, and we don't want to be too rosy in projections, and nor people can argue be as conservative as you want. But I think that, again, recognizing what challenges we have. So that's why I raised the issue. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts about it, but Ted?
Yeah, I on that same point was looking at not just the actuals for 10-11 compared to budget for 11-12. But also went back and pulled last year's budget and the actual received for the 9-10 fiscal year, or actually the franchise fee allocations to member jurisdictions, and that number for 9-10 was $11,219,350, and that grew to $11,244,540 this year.
Yeah, and one thing you have to look at, over the past several years, we've had strategies like we're implementing this year that have offset costs. So the distributions have been enhanced. Like, either last year or the year before, we offset $2 million of past best net expenses, and that was a significant enhancement to the revenue distribution. Also, and it just ended a few years ago, the commission, out of its general fund, had authorized $1.3 million a year for 3 years, and then for best net. So when that stopped, there was also an enhancement. I just want to point out that those things are part of what ends up in the revenue distribution. So while yes, this year's is 11.2, and I think the year before that was close to that. It's getting there for different reasons. And honestly, if it wasn't for those enhancements, we would be talking about a less revenue distribution than we're talking about now. I'm estimating $10.5 million, which isn't too much below those two figures we just talked about. You know, previously, I know I was contacted by a few entities wanting an early number, and I couldn't presuppose your commission's decisions on offsets and other things that would have enhanced the number. So, you know, I gave them a number that was lower than what we're even recommending right now. But, you know, point being is that if we had a budget that wasn't, we didn't have the ability for some of these enhancements that we talked about today, then we would certainly be talking about a lower number. And in fact, either next year or the year after, the revenue distribution could go down, even if the cable revenue goes up, because you know, the ability to continue to just keep doing these enhancements is likely to go away. You know, with that, I just want to point out that there's a lot of ways that the numbers get to where they are, and it's just not as easy as looking at last year's and saying we could probably do the same this year, because the revenue distribution over the last several years has been enhanced and has had different factors involved in other budget allocations that have led to the final number.
Well, what have the actual franchise fee revenues been in total, not just the distribution, but the franchise fee revenues been for the last 2 years, to kind of get a sense of the trend on actual?
The 10-11 revenues were $11.2 million. Wait a second. I believe that the 9-10 came in close to 11.2. I'm going from my memory there, and because I believe what we budgeted last year was close to what the revenue was. So, you know, last year's this last fiscal year, 10-11, came in at just over 12 million. They came in at 11.2 million the year before, I believe.
Okay.
And I gave the figure for 0506 earlier, I think. You know, so you can, which was 7.5 million. So that kind of gives you the general trend.
Okay, so we're overall seeing an increase in the number of, because is the fee a flat fee per connection?
It's 5% of gross revenues to cable companies.
Okay, so we're seeing a growth in the cable industry over the last several years.
But I don't think not at the percentages that we have been experiencing.
Right.
It's still
increases. It's slowing down.
But
It's kind of reaching a peak.
Correct.
So are we assuming this about the same overall revenues? Are we assuming the same overall revenues for the next fiscal year as we are this year? Or are we anticipating a little bit of a decline in revenue for the next fiscal year?
I projected 300,000 less than the last year's actual revenues received.
Okay.
And certainly I hope it to be more. You know, I'm not trying to keep the revenue away. I just, you know, like I said, you know, we would typically conservatively estimate that revenue. This is actually less conservative than probably any year that I've done the budget since '06. But, you know, especially given the discussion last year. But understand that it certainly is $300,000. The projection is $300,000 less than the actual revenue received last year.
Okay. And just because I can't recall, is the distribution percentages, is that established under the JPA ordinance, or?
The JPA provides for distribution based on population.
Based on population, okay. So this board doesn't have any influence over changing the distributions? That's
We've come back before and talked about that, and talked about looking at actual where the revenue comes from versus population. The last time we showed you numbers, there was very little variance.
Right.
And the board declined to go forward. To change that, we would have to go back to all the member agencies and amend the JPA.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, so with that, as far as the vote on this, do we need to take each sub-resolution, or can we just go with the?
You can do it all together.
All together, okay, okay, so I'll go ahead and move to approve resolution number 2011-02 and 2011-03, which encompass all those other sub-documents, correct?
Second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Wait, before we do that, I don't know, I know we had this discussion last year, but I'm given the impacts to the member jurisdictions in making our budgets for the next fiscal year, I'm reluctant to assume a decline in the revenues from the franchise fees when the overall trend, even while all the other revenue sources, at least at the county, have been very negative. This is the one that's been a positive trend in an otherwise down economy. I'm a little reluctant to necessarily assume we're going to see a diversion in that trend now. If we didn't see it over the last 2 years, when I would have figured the economic condition would have much more matched a decline. And I'm wondering if there's an interest in at least budgeting an additional $300,000 in revenue distribution to the member agencies. I mean, I'd like to see it at the same at the 11,244,540, but it sounds like because there's some one-time funds in that, Bob, that may help make up that 244, the 11,244.
Yeah, if you're going to make an adjustment, I would make it on the estimated revenue from the cable companies, not on directing a revenue distribution.
Right. And so, I mean, that's where I would be looking to make a change, is assuming that we're not going to see a decline in the revenues from the cable companies.
So what I heard you say before, Bob, related to that was that if that was going to be agreed upon by the board, that would add about $300,000 then to that. So instead of 10.5 on that assumption, it would be 10.8 roughly.
Yeah, and what I would do if that's going to be a motion is I would just simply make the motion adopting today's recommendations with the adjustment that the revenue number for fiscal year 11-12 for franchise fees is adjusted by adding 300,000, for example, and then the revenue distribution to the member agencies is appropriately adjusted. With that, we can certainly update the budget to reflect that. And that
right, and the way this works, I think, just for my own personal edification, is that just like at the end of this budget year, it was higher, so everybody's getting a little more than they had budgeted. If for some reason that fell apart, we just end up getting less money than we had budgeted about 1 year from now. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so this just helps the budgeting process with the hope that we're up.
Correct.
So.
Right.
Just a question. I'm kind of into reserves these days, but would there be any need to set some of that money aside for reserve just in case we have a rainy day instead of spending it all now at this point?
I don't believe so, and the commission has traditionally operated this way. And what happens is when the revenue distribution is 70 to 90% of the money you take in, there's a lot of it's not hard to operate the commission without having extra reserves. So in other words, in the end, even if the cable revenues got cut in half, that would be an awful story for the member agencies, but there would still be plenty of money to run the commission. We get 4 payments from the cable companies, so the revenue gets taken in, at 4 points during the year. Our operations, our allocations don't come close to the revenue that we're taking in, and then at the end of the year we distribute what we didn't spend, and that's all proposed in the budget. But with that in a sense the cable revenues that come in helps operate as our reserve, and there's really no need to have an extra reserve.
Yeah, it's just pass through.
Right.
That's all it is. So.
Mr. Chair, just one final question. So there's no trends outside of the things you point out that would indicate that we would be in any way off the mark if we budgeted what we're going to likely close with this year for next year, and then backing out the other kind of either single streams and/or maybe declining streams of funding.
We have not seen any local Sacramento trend like that. Okay. Nationwide, I think there's been different pictures in other jurisdictions, and there's been a lot of discussion about the Netflix and the Hulu and whether those will actually start taking money away from the cable companies. But like I said, we have not been experiencing that here yet.
And mid-year, you could report to us too. If we're starting to see that, then we could start, if we start to build budgets for our respective jurisdictions, we could know that, hey, things are, maybe going in a little different direction than what we anticipated.
Yeah, we do look at it quarterly.
Okay.
You could report like at the end of the third quarter if things are really getting skewed or something like that.
I would definitely do that.
Okay. Real quick, Bob.
Yeah, just and last year we were talking about the increase in the revenue because people are spending more time at home. I don't think the economy has increased to the point where they're going to be leaving home and not using the cable as much as they are. I think it's going to be increasing even more. So I think the I don't think the revenue is going to be going down. I think we're going to see this continue as it is, because most of the, I'm on the regional transit, and people are increasing their use of light rail and other things. So, when the money is tight, then you use the money for the best you can get out of it. And right now, I think using cable is something that people are using much, much more. And it's helping our revenue, I think, in this tight year.
Okay, so if there are no other comments or questions, then what I'll go ahead and do is modify my original motion just to change that estimated revenue distribution to $10,800,000 as opposed to.
We would ask that you change the franchise revenues by $300,000, and then we would move that through the budget to the distribution as appropriate.
Okay, so amended as just discussed there. So is the second of the motion okay?
I'll go with the second. I think we're splitting hairs there, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. If it helps some budgeting stuff, I'm okay too. So, so with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, budget carries. Thank you for hanging around, Sandy. Okay, so with that, moving on to item number 4. The clerk would please call the item.
Item number 4 is resolution number 2011-008 in support of H.R. 1746, the Community Access Preservation Cap Act.
Good afternoon again. I believe at the last meeting I told your commission that the Community Access Preservation Act, they called the CAP Act for short, was likely to be introduced soon, and actually it has been introduced now. So the CAP Act has been introduced as H.R. 1746. The CAP Act amends the Communication Act of 1934 with various provisions that provide protection to public education and government channels. For example, the Act would say that PEG fees revenue can be used for any purpose, not just capital, could be used for operations. We've talked a lot about PEG fees today, so it would allow that. It also directs the FCC to review the impact of statewide franchising laws and standards on public educational and government channels. And certainly DIVCA is our statewide legislation that is pertinent in that discussion. Also, the Act reaffirms that operators must deliver PEG channels to subscribers without additional charges and without material degradation to every subscriber in their system. With that, the Commission has a long history of supporting PEG, and since the bill addresses several fundamental issues related to PEG, I'm recommending that you adopt today's resolution in support of the CAP Act, H.R. 1746.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions for Bob on this item? Okay. I have no request to speak on this item. So let's see here. Item 4. So let's see. Looking to approve. So do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2011-008?
I'll move to approve the motion.
Okay.
Second. Or resolution.
Moved by Mel. Who had the second there? Okay. Steve, seconded by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion carries. All right, on to item number 5.
Item number 5 is to receive and file the Commission's Procurement Card Program Compliance Review for fiscal year 910.
Okay, the Commission participates in the county's procurement card program. It's basically our credit card, and we make certain purchases for various equipment and office supplies and such. The county auditor reviewed the Commission's use of cards, and basically the audit came up clean with the exception of one small finding. Apparently, in online purchases, there was $6.11 of sales tax to California that wasn't paid. So with that, we have since remitted that $6.11 and have updated our practice so that, if we make online purchases, we'll make sure that the sales tax get paid. And with that, there was no other findings in the audit.
Pretty darn clean there. Okay, so received.
It's received and filed, yes.
Received and filed. Any questions on that? Okay. Thank you, Bob. So item number 6 is fiscal year 2011-12 chair and vice chair election. I'll go ahead and just start this off by, I spoke with Mel earlier, and we appreciate Mel stepping in for Steve Miller's seat there as they kind of rework their regional chairs and whatnot in the city of Citrus Heights. So, so for both Mel and myself, we are well prepared to hand this off to anybody who may be interested. So, at this point, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for or a nomination for a chair for 2011-2012. And we see the history there. So, are there any volunteers? Maybe I should.
Quick question is, so is well prepared mean that you're ready to hand it over to Mel? Is that, and if that's the case, I mean, that would be the logical order of things here, so.
Mel,
But I don't think well prepared to step away if that's what you guys are advocating, so.
I'll let Mel speak for himself.
Yeah. Because I'm so new to this, I'm still learning, and I'm in a learning mode. I can't say I'll be the new guy next year at this time, I realize that, but I do think that it probably would be better to have someone more experienced step forward as the chair as opposed to me. So I'm trying to be gracious at this point and recognize the lack of experience here with the commission and allow someone who has more experience to step up to the chair position.
That said, Mel, I have the utmost confidence in you that you can certainly do the job.
Well,
It didn't work for me.
Mr. Moore, would you, again, there may be others who would like to be considered for the chair, but if you'd be interested to give Mel a little more time in the trenches, and that way, you know, we've had years where we've had repeat. You've now done it for, I guess, for a year and a half.
Actually, just the last year.
Just the last year,
because
yeah.
there's just that double entry because of the change from Steve Miller to Mel Turner.
So again, if somebody else was just, you know, hankering to be considered, again, it doesn't get us too much out of the rotation, but.
Yeah, so that would be, I guess, the question there, and it's a great point. So if, I am happy to step aside, so if there are volunteers, if somebody wants to volunteer, or if we want to volunteer somebody besides me, I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to carry the gavel for another year with Mel,
With Mel in tow, yeah.
Mel in tow.
That would be, I'd be willing.
But if somebody really would like to step into the chair's role, I am happy to defer. So is there anybody interested in that? Okay, so I guess what I'll do is go ahead and just make a motion that we continue with the current chair and vice chair for the next fiscal year.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Mel, we tried. Go ahead. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? You know, Sandy left. We should have done Sandy. I wasn't thinking.
Beware the absence.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you, and thank you. Mel and I are excited to continue to fill those roles. So, okay, so with that, item number...
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, I think. So with that, item number 7?
7 is verbal staff report from our executive director.
Okay, I just have a couple items, and given the time, I'll keep it pretty short. First of all, due to the Board of Supervisors and City Council summer recesses, I'm letting you know that the July 7th meeting will be canceled. Karen, is it appropriate for the board to take an action to cancel the meeting? Or just
I suppose they can make a motion in a second and.
we can either do it by motion, or actually we can just do it at the chair's discretion. And
why don't we just do that? That way, yeah, I think we'll keep the same pattern in place, so we'll email the folks.
Right, and then meetings are scheduled for August 4th and September 1st, and we'll hold those on an as-needed basis, and we'll consult with the chair on those meetings. Just want to point out, and actually Board Member McCarty's not here today, we recently got cable commission agendas up on the web. Probably we're a little bit behind maybe compared to some other entities, and so we were pretty happy to have that be available on the web now. I know that Board Member McCarty at the last meeting indicated that he would like to see it so that if you click an agenda item, you can jump to the different agenda items, and we've actually Karen has worked with the IT staff at the county, I think, and has that working now. So now the Cable Commission agenda is on our website, with the ability to click the item, and it'll take you right to that item, so you don't have to go through 50 pages of budget to get to item number 4, for example. Those are the only 2 items I had, except Harriet had an item that she wanted to talk about.
Right, I just wanted to let the commission know some good news for my law firm. As you know, I'm with Best Best & Krieger these days, and there is a law firm, Miller and Van Eaton. They're based out of Washington, D.C. They are probably the premier cable and telecommunications law firm in the country that represents public agencies. And as of yesterday, they joined Best Best & Krieger, so we now have immediate access to Joe Van Eaton and Nick Miller. Joe Van Eaton, as you know, is our special counsel for the AT&T PEG litigation. And so we were very much looking forward to them being part of our law firm. And I think and I want to let you know, so if you heard about it, you heard it here. And I think it'll be very beneficial for the commission to have that kind of expertise both here and in Washington at our fingertips.
All right, thanks, Harriet.
I would just say they now have immediate access to Harriet Steiner too. So
go.
by that merger, so they gained a bit too, I would think so.
Thank you.
Probably a reason for doing that. So. Very good. Okay, anything else, Bob, Harriet? Okay, very good. So item number 8 is state franchisee licensee reports, and I have one request to speak on this on item B for Comcast. Philip Arndt. Good afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon. Philip Arndt, Government Affairs Director for Comcast. Just a couple things. First is to announce that we do have a new Regional Vice President of Government Affairs, Rochelle Chong. And if that name sounds familiar, she is a former PUC commissioner and actually a former FCC commissioner. So we're excited to have her as part of our team. She's been on board for about a month now, and she'll be based out of our regional office in Livermore. The second item is an exciting initiative that Comcast is going to be launching. We're actually starting it now, getting the word out, but we'll be launching it in the fall. It's a broadband adoption initiative that we're working through the schools. It's called Comcast Internet Essentials, and what it is, it's aimed at doing two things. Number one, closing the digital divide, and number two, increasing broadband adoption. What it is that we're going to be working with school districts throughout our footprint, throughout all our footprint throughout the country, and offering $9.95 economy tier internet, which is it's 1.5 megabits with all the bells and whistles, modem included. For $9.95, usually it's a $39.95 market price. For $9.95 to families who have children who are not only qualified but enrolled in the National School Lunch Program. So it's a way of getting internet into the homes for families that otherwise may not have the means to afford it. We often, when we look at broadband adoption and the barriers, cost is one of them, access to a computer is another one, and just digital literacy, just sort of fear of what to do, how to use the computer. So we're tackling the issue costs through the $9.95 offering. Also, as part of the program, we would offer a computer for families to purchase a computer for $150. And this is really a great opportunity to get a computer into a home. And then the third thing was digital literacy, offering online and other digital internet courses and classes. So I have some information here that I will.
Great, and as your
what we really want to do is get the word out, and we're going to be working with school districts. Liz and I have talked about it. We're going to be working with the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. She has a great group of contacts that I can work with to help get this out. We'll be sending, letters will go out to eligible families, but we plan to launch this in the fall. It's going to be a three-year program. So, once they get the $9.95, it's locked in, no modem fee. The price won't increase, and really, it's a great deal. So we're excited about it. I think this is going to be great for families who, right now, are having difficulty getting into the digital race, the digital society. And so I think this is very promising.
Great.
So just want to let you know about it, and we'll be talking to you more about it as
All right.
as we get going.
Thanks, and Don, you had a
Yeah, just a question for you. So the information relative to those who are enrolled in the National School Lunch Program is not turned over to Comcast. The school district or entity that has that information is the one that's going to be responsible for doing the outreach, because, I mean, that's something that, obviously folks
Right.
is there to help people with nutrition and children that
Exactly.
may not have the ability to get all those meals at home and so forth. But so that's the type of thing where your partners have to be the school districts or some other entity that has that.
And we'll be working with third-party vendors to facilitate, the computers in this whole program.
Right, but I mean, but as far as, so it's not, it's not Comcast going and getting some enrollment form about, what kids are,
No.
what families are, because again,
No.
that speaks to their income. There has to be some validation, verification of that, and
Yeah.
I understand you're trying to get broader access to folks who may not have the economic means. On the other hand, there's some sensitivity.
Oh, yeah,
to
no.
yeah,
I mean, I think we're basically, told if if they're eligible and they're participating, then they can sign up. And there's a website that they can go to sign up. And so, families can do this, so.
That's good. Again, I just want to be some sensitivity
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the indirect
And we are
solicitation
too.
and say, and not that you do this, but it's, your kids are in the, program and get, free breakfast, free lunch program, because, and so it's
It
done
is.
tastefully and thoughtfully in a way that will hopefully improve access for learning and for other, important elements that are tied to the school, but versus, again,
Right.
you're using an income guideline that's a little different than, I guess, that, maybe that's used for other qualifying, but this, basically is you're a business proposition that's going to try to, provide something, but there's still going to be some return for that. I mean, you're going to get a customer signed up, so. All right.
That's a very good point. We are sensitive to
Okay,
that. Thanks.
Hey, Philip, I'd like to help you with outreach for Elk Grove, so.
Yes, that's what, I'd like to meet with you too.
Perfect.
So, perfect. Great.
Great, thank you. Phil, any other questions?
Thank you.
Phil? Okay, thanks. Okay, that's all I had as far as requests to speak on item number 8. So moving on to item number 9, channel licensee grantee reports, and I have a request under 9C. David Lowe.
Good afternoon, David Lowe with KVIE Public Television. Just 2 quick things. First, thank you for passing the budget. That's number 1. Number 2, just wanted to share with you some information about a production that we rolled out not too long ago. It's called A Crisis in Caring, California's School Nursing Shortage. It's now available nationally for other stations to air. And basically, if a child that you love gets sick or injured at school, that's a bad thing because there might be someone, no one legally who can help them. The days of the school nurse, as we remember, where there was a school nurse at every school, they're gone. In a district in Northern California, there's 1 school nurse for 14,800 students. That's 20 times below the national standard, or actually above the national standard. So it's very trying times. We're trying to take a critical look at it, make sure that people are aware of it. And based on the reporting that we did, it received 3 awards. It's been nominated for an Emmy, received a California State Journalism Award, and it won an Excellence in Reporting from the Association of Healthcare Journalists. And it was the only local station to have won an award. The rest were national productions. I have 3 copies, which I'll leave with staff. If anyone would like one, feel free to take one. And if you'd like any more, I'd be happy to send them to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Congratulations, too. That's great.
Yes. Okay, under 9E, I have Gail Destler. And followed by Gail is Liz. Okay, you can reorder as you see fit.
We're all SECC, so, and BestNet. Liz Rhodes and Gail Destler. First of all, thanks very much for the support in passing that budget. Again, that's huge for us. And secondly, I wanted to say that, this has been a trying year for everybody. And one of the great things, and I'm all about looking at the positive side of this come out, is that we've learned so much more in terms of collaboration and leveraging resources. And I've got a tremendously exciting project that I wanted Gail to talk to you about. But for that, I also wanted to comment about award night. Some of you were there, some of you couldn't make it. It was fabulous this year, again, with the students. We had over 1,200 parents, teachers, and visionaries, and all kinds of exciting people at Sac State. And if you get a chance to look online, most of the stuff, especially the red carpet material, we had our paparazzi there. It's amazing, and it's on our website online, so get a chance to take a look at that. And thank you, Mr. Moore, and you were great as always.
That was
with,
fun to do.
with those
Thanks for
kids.
inviting me.
That was fabulous.
You were the paparazzi?
I was. I kept the cameras
You
out of
walked
my
the red
face.
carpet.
I'm used to that.
It's really fun. Talking about collaborations, we have an amazing project that we finished up this year. I don't know how many of you know Gail Destler. She is extremely well known throughout the state of California and throughout the nation. She is, you're going to hate me, she is one of the best people in terms of bringing unique programs into schools using internet and internet too. She's done some fabulous things for not only Elk Grove that she represents, but for our entire community. One of the programs is Teach 21, and you've got all of the videos on here, and I'm not going to say too much more about it, except that what I think is very unique about this, it's a partnership between you, because of BestNet, it wouldn't be possible without BestNet, because of SECC and SECC's production capabilities that you fund, because of Elk Grove, because of a statewide program that's free to students, and Gail's going to talk a little bit more about that, the Ports Project, and because of some outside state funding. All those pieces pulled together created this. So with that, Gail, do you want to talk?
So rather than tell you how these partnerships, our partnerships, are making a difference in Elk Grove classrooms and actually leveling the playing field for a lot of our students, we're going to roll a short video clip and invite you to step right into a second grade classroom at one of our Title I schools. And you'll have you get to see a little bit about our California Parks online resources for teachers and how we are really tapping into the network.
Thanks, Gail.
We've done observations of our own live caterpillars over the past few weeks. And then today we had the opportunity to have a video conference with the Ports program through the state parks.
Today we're going to talk about some special butterflies. Anybody know what butterflies these are?
Monarch butterflies.
Monarch butterflies.
So we had a state park ranger talk to our kids about kind of the life cycle of a butterfly and some interesting facts about monarch butterflies and migration and metamorphosis. And they had an opportunity to ask some of those questions that they've developed over the last few weeks while they've been studying and reading and looking at different information.
Do they pump their wings again if they get wet in the water?
It's going to dry out its wings.
I learned about butterflies today that if they get wet, they pump their wings and the water gets out of their wings.
Before the video conference, the kids had an opportunity to observe the changes that had happened with their caterpillars since the last time they saw them. They only really get to observe once a week since it's a lab situation, so they had a chance to take a look at the changes and write observations, take photos and video of the changes that they observed.
When I saw the caterpillars change, they were this big and now they're this big.
Now today in our video conference, it's just one more really good way of gathering information about butterflies because the woman that we're going to be speaking to is an expert.
What I want to do is show you the real life size of an egg. So take your fingers like this, pinch them together, and then so touch your fingertips and really smush them together then. See how you create that little tiny hole that you can almost see through a little bit? See that little tiny hole? That's as big as a monarch egg.
I think it was really cool because it was like going on a field trip without leaving the classroom or the school.
Here we go. So can you see it forming?
Yeah.
From here, we'll take all of that information that they've gathered over the past few weeks and we will work on creating our own films, our own videos, and putting together both the writing and the photography they've done, the video that they've done, and put it all together so that they can produce a product and teach other second graders and other students in general about what we've studied in this whole unit.
So these partnerships are, they're blowing away the walls of the classrooms and community boundaries to any kind of access to learning and resources. So thank you so much for your support.
Great. Thank you, Gail. Thank you for showing us that.
And these videos are shared throughout California as professional development. And many of the resources that the teachers use are free. So,
Actually, they all are.
there you go.
Not just many, all.
21 lessons plus a bonus one, and they're on a website right now, and our state's high-speed network will be posting them, so teachers all across the state have access to not just the lessons, but the videos, which provide a window of real teachers with real kids using 21st century skills.
And Gail, just a question regarding, you mentioned second graders in the video. Is this for second graders only, or do you have it?
We go starting with first grade.
Uh-huh.
We have ELL students, English language learners, teamed with a 6th grade class and using a program called VoiceThread to learn about the wind and the vocabulary that goes with the wind, and all the way up to 11th grade. We have a series of lessons around a very difficult topic to teach, and that is the Holocaust.
Thank you.
Very good.
It is
Thanks.
amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Gail.
Thanks.
Okay, I have no other requests to speak on that item, and I have no requests to speak on item 10. And before we adjourn, just one quick question. I thought if we just approved in the budget some significant work to take place here in these chambers, are they going to be able to keep this operating during that work? Do we know?
There was some staff here that would help address that, but I believe I could probably address it. I believe that the plan will be to do it over one of the long breaks where the board is out for 3 weeks. And possibly it could be longer than that, so they might have to provide a relocation facility for a couple weeks. That's my understanding, but I'm really not involved in the implementation of the project. I just garnered that information from what I read and talking to county staff.
Right, just looked like a significant project. Somebody actually asked me that, so.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so any other questions, comments? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.